Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Grey Remnant here. Today we're going to be reviewing Ant-Man. I'm not going to do a plot synopsis today, and there's not going to be any spoilers, mainly because there's not a whole lot I can make fun of in this movie because there aren't many plot holes. At least not in terms of like character decisions. Generally in films there's two types of plot holes. The first being plot holes that rise from people doing stupid shit in the movie, like in Jurassic World when Chris Pratt's character walked up to the wall and inspected the claw marks for no reason. That was a character driven plot hole. And the other type of plot hole is basically background plot holes, like scientific errors and stuff. Ant-Man makes quite a few scientific errors. The science is actually total bullshit. But in terms of character-driven plot holes, there really aren't any. It was actually written quite well in that regard. So there's not a whole lot I can make fun of. And it's not going to be fun if I go through the plot. If you really want to see a plot analysis from me, you can look at this project on PMC. I'll have it there in written form. But I'm not going to talk about it. It would just bore you. It would bore you. So I guess I'll start by saying that Ant-Man is not your typical Marvel film. Most Marvel movies exist in a universe where the bounds of science are pushed, while comedic elements are kind of integrated sparsely throughout the film. Ant-Man is different in that there's a lot more comedy and a lot less scientific accuracy. And it turns out that this was actually a really good idea. I know it doesn't sound like it would be, but it actually works. I mean, who needs all that science crap when we could just watch hilarity unfold and laugh ourselves silly? I mean, most of the time I would ask that sarcastically, but after seeing Ant-Man, I suddenly understand the appeal. I guess we'll start with the pros. The acting's phenomenal. Throughout the film, everybody in it is pretty good. The standouts are probably Corey Stoll and Michael Douglas. They're particularly good. Corey Stoll is fucking phenomenal in this movie. Okay, he plays a really psychotic dude who, he's a psycho, and he's really entertaining throughout. Michael Douglas, Michael Douglas has never been bad in a movie before. I would say I would rank Corey Stoll as one of the better villains, Marvel villains to date. He's probably up there with Loki and Ultron and the Red Skull, and the characters have great chemistry with one another, which is nice. Not at all like Terminator Genesis, where the characters had no chemistry at all. It's the exact opposite. It's hilariously funny, especially when these three dudes are present. Yeah, these three guys. When you see these dudes, the scene is fucking hilarious. I mean, they're probably the biggest source of comic relief throughout the film, and they do a great job with it. It's well paced. I actually tried to time it in the theater, but I don't think I did it right because I forgot where the movie started. But the first around hour and 10 minutes is kind of like the planning phase of this big heist. And then the last, half hour is like the final battle and everything, which is different from other Marvel films. Usually Marvel, just has like one battle scene after another. They just kind of like mindless battle sequence after mindless battle sequence. But here, it's more like a build up and then one grand finale, which I think works really well. Cons, the science, particularly the science in relation to the shrinking suit, is absolutely ridiculous and makes no sense whatsoever. And I'll get to that in a second. We'll get more in depth. There's a relatively banal score. I don't think that the score was particularly good. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't really. It's not like the Avengers. There's a lazy Deus Ex Machina moment at the end of the film, which I won't talk about because it's a spoiler, but it's ridiculous and it's really poorly thought out. But even some of the best movies in history have had moments like that. I mean, Jurassic Park had it with the Unix system moment, which I still to this day can't stand. There's also a fight scene in the middle of the movie that was completely unnecessary and was just there to shoehorn kind of Ant-Man into the Avengers movies so that he could be in Civil War. I won't talk about that, very much, but I mean, if you see the movie, you'll know exactly what it is I'm talking about. And if you really want to know, you could just look on PMC. I've posted plot synopsis, so you can just look at that. Plot holes, there are two. and they're both background plot holes that have to do with the science of the shrinking suit. Basically, the suit works by reducing the distance between atoms, which effectively condenses molecules. The main problem with this is that I don't see how this wouldn't affect the biochemistry of the person. I mean, if you're changing the density of the molecules, isn't that going to affect how the molecules interact with one another? I would think that it would. Because remember, we're not changing the size of the atoms. We're changing the distance between atoms, right? So I don't understand that. And also, it also seems to reduce his mass. Like when Ant-Man gets small, he's lighter in mass, yet he still has the same amount of energy that he would have if he were normal size. But you're not reducing mass. All you're doing is changing the density. You're not changing the mass. Technically, the way the suit is working, you would expect Ant-Man to weigh exactly the same amount when he's small as when he's big. You see what I mean? It doesn't. It's ridiculous. And then also there's this other feature that the suit has. It actually has the ability to shrink to subatomic size. That shouldn't be possible because the size of the atoms is remaining constant. I don't see how Ant-Man can shrink to become smaller than an atom when he's still made of atoms that are completely normal size. Again, the atoms aren't changing. The distance between the atoms is changing. That's absolute rubbish. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So he shouldn't be able to shrink to that size. There's only one plot contrivance in this film, and it's that Deus Ex Machina at the end. It's completely ridiculous, and it doesn't really make any sense. I talk about that more in the blog, so again, check that out if you want to see. I hate lame Deus Ex Machina moments, and this one's pretty lame. But I think that with Ant-Man, Marvel has made a statement. Marvel films are based in fantasy, not reality. The science of Ant-Man is mind-bogglingly unrealistic. But on the other hand, it's one of the funniest films I've seen in a long time. So, I mean, Marvel has decided that they're not going to be limited by the laws of physics and that comedy is more valuable than drama. I mean, up until now, Marvel has always had lots of comedic elements in it, but this one is just, I think they've reached a point where it's just flat out comedy at this point. So Marvel's basically just doubled down and embraced the silliness, and that's a good thing. It's better to be cinematically pure than to just try and please everybody by committee, It's like there are a lot of people out there who dislike Marvel films because they're overtly silly and they don't have as much realism or grittiness as, maybe The Dark Knight or something like that. That they don't care about those people. They're not trying to please those people. They're just doing what they want to do, and I respect that. Rather than worrying about realism, Marvel is concerned with making smart characters that make rational decisions in an unrealistic world. The science is all wrong. The characters' decisions are completely fine. That's the difference. I can more easily forgo the scientific errors, mainly because they exist in the background. It's easy to forget about how particles actually work and just embrace the madness of Ant-Man's ridiculous shrinking suit. It's harder to get over people doing things that they would never realistically do, things that just move the plot in the direction the writers want. That I have a problem with. That is what I can't stand. The background plot holes, I can deal with that. Marvel's good at avoiding those character decision flaws because they keep the plot simple. It's just a ball rolling downhill rather than them constantly pulling strings, you know what I mean? The characters really don't need to make ridiculous decisions to move the plot along because the plot moves all by itself. I can't tolerate it when characters do stupid shit like they did in Jurassic World or in Terminator Genesis. Things that don't make any sense. That's what really bothers me. The film basically incorporates the simplicity of Iron Man, the humor of Guardians of the Galaxy, and the stellar character interactions of the Avengers. And aside from the scientific inaccuracies, the film is highly entertaining and well worth watching. I would give it the same thing I gave Age of Ultron, 3 out of 4 stars. For all its problems, it more than makes up for it in humor. So yeah, that's my review. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You could check out the blog version, which lists a plot analysis as well as a list of pros, cons, plot holes, and plot contrivances over on PMC. The link is in the description. And I'll see you guys next time when I think the next movie I'm going to review is Fantastic Four. I would think. I think that's the next one. So I'll see you guys then. Thank you very much for watching. Grey Remnant signing out. Goodbye, you guys.